Hello everyone, I'm Wave, and today I'm going to be talking about Yuzusoft's third title that they ever put out, Natsuzora Kanata. Now, while Yuzusoft is usually the visual novel studio that's known for their rom-com and overall light-hearted romance visual novels, Natsuzora Kanata is the one title in their catalog that tackles their own take on the Nakige genre, otherwise known as the cry game. I was overall pretty surprised with my time reading it, how good of a job that they did tackling this genre. Anyways, let's get into it. Now, first off, if you do a little bit of research, you look into the overall setting of the game, which does take place on the quote-unquote eternal island of summer. You're going to notice at least some coincidences or similarities to Summer Pockets. If it sounds a little close to Summer Pockets, it's because it is. That could be a topic for a separate video, but if you've already played Summer Pockets, don't let that discourage you from going ahead and playing this game here. They're different enough, and I do think that there is a almost different audience between both of them. Now, taking place on the island of eternal summer, Natsuzora Kanata does a surprising job at setting up an overall magic system to where there are 3 routes across the entire game, and the island and the magic that keeps it as eternal summer plays a heavy part in all 3 routes, showing different instances on how this magic impacts the world that the characters live in. Now, with it being a Yuzusoft game, do note that it still does have a relatively nice level of rom-com and lightheartedness to it. I do think that they did a really good, solid job at being able to flip at multiple points throughout the story to where you're able to relax and enjoy the summer vibes of being on the island, and being able to just have fun alongside friends and being able to develop a familiarity with the cast of the game and being able to become connected to not only the main heroines of the route but also the supporting characters, but then also being able to flip and have that emotional bond between those characters be strained as various hurdles come up within the story. And I do think the level that this game goes is actually a little bit harder than your stereotypical key game. The way Natsuzora Kanata goes about bringing forth the the elements of the quote-unquote cry game is almost done so in a more immediate and urgent fashion as opposed to a typical key game, and I do think that actually ends up working well in the instance of it. Natsuzora Kanata has much more exaggerated moments of emotional trauma, which is kind of surprising considering which company it's coming from, but I ended up overall enjoying it. Natsuzora Kanata has 3 routes, and I actually really do enjoy having such a concise, cut down level of branching paths. There's not too many different routes that are going to be spreading thin the overall quality of the game. Depending on which route you choose first, and yes, there is no story locks, there is no linear route progression. You can play any of the 3 routes in any order that you want, but I like that within all 3 different routes there's different contextual pieces that help to elevate and further broaden your understanding of the game and the world of the characters, because things that happen on one route in the context of being able to show how that would happen, what kind of consequences happen if you were to choose a different path in a following playthrough, and also showing how characters react in different ways across different playthroughs. I think it does a really good job of being able to balance and kind of show that it's like the game doesn't shy away as well from, if you were a character going about and trying to stop this bad thing from happening in one route, they don't really shy away from kind of not really shoving it in your face, but giving you that kind of like subtle hint in the background that, oh, that bad thing happens because of the fact that you're not there on a following playthrough, and you're kind of just forced to live with it. You kind of are reading between the lines and seeing, oh wait, this is how the story kind of progresses if we go this way instead. Natsuzora Kanata doesn't shy away from that, and I think it really does kind of push forward more about, making it more emotionally driven when it comes to story overall. Natsuzora Kanata, I had a lot of fun reading it. It is a game that is not translated, although I do think that out of pretty much any of the non-translated visual novels that I've personally read so far, this is the one game I think has a solid chance at being localized at some point. A lot of the Yuzusoft games have been over time being localized. There would be some changes that they would probably have to make if they were to drop it on Steam, because of some of the choices actually do kind of lead to different endings, and they'd have to, if they're not going to have a version without the restoration patch applied, they'd have to make some changes to that in order to make sure that people at any point can play through the entirety of the game and enjoy and experience everything. I do think Natsuzora Kanata has a solid chance at being localized at some point down the line, but even then, if you wanted to get into it, I do think it is a very solid read, especially if you are somebody that wants more of that kind of emotionally driven style of, Nakige cry game experience that Key typically puts out, but you've already read through all of the Key games. This is a different, flavor of that. I did enjoy that different flavor, and hopefully you would too. Anyways, those have been my brief thoughts on Natsuzora Kanata. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.